All right, Brett and Jimmy Connors here with another edition of the Advantage Connors podcast. All right, Brett and Jimmy Connors here with another edition of the Advantage Connors podcast. What's going on, Pops? How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm kind of wishing we were back on the boat doing this.
Yeah, me too.
Floating in the Bahamas. It was fun doing a pot or two, when we were just sitting out in the ocean like that. But geez, it's been a kind of a tough adjustment getting back. We were in the water so much. I get my sea legs have finally come back, so it's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know you've been back to work and doing a lot of tennis, and we were on the clay just a couple of weeks ago in the finals of the French, and now on the grass.
Yep. It's
So.
it's a nice change up to come back to. You're used to the long grindy points on the clay and lots of breakbacks, and then and now the grass, the points are a little quicker, hopefully, and the matches aren't quite so long, so it's a little easier to work some of them on the grass.
Yeah, what have you been working? Which tournaments you been working? Are all of them? Probably you hook them
Uh
all in, right?
Yeah, I produced Queens last week on Tennis Channel. It was Queens and Berlin, Halle, which is we'll talk about one of our favorite tournaments, and I think one
Yeah.
other one, Nottingham. So it was four tournaments going on. So a busy week, and then now we're the week before Wimbledon. We can get into some Wimby odds later. It's we're in where are we? Where are we? Bad Homburg,
Yeah.
and we're in Eastbourne.
Wow. There
Yeah,
there
and
there's there's
Mallorca
two
for the men.
two or three grass tournaments every week leading up it. So it gives everybody an opportunity to get on the grass, but also it dilutes the tournament, so doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's the argument as old as time. Like it splits up the talent, but then it gives them chances to they're smaller tournaments. They're 250s, they're 500. So I guess you kind of figure that, then all the best players come together for the Masters and the majors.
Right.
So you got to spread it out, give some different cities tournaments, and allow people all over the world to check it out. But yeah,
Yeah.
it does do that. So you get some different winners. But
Anytime there's live tennis, it's just going to grow the game, hopefully.
yep.
So yeah, I guess yeah, keep it going.
Yep. So we'll get right into it. There was four finals. We're recording this Monday. By the way, happy Father's Day
Yeah, but
yesterday. We
yeah,
tried to record it yesterday. I was a little worn out from the day, and then I know you went out with mom, had a nice dinner. So we're recording this a day late, but this is our Father's Day edition of the podcast.
yeah,
So
perfect. Yeah, thanks, thanks, son. I
yep.
know we talked yesterday, but yeah, it was you've got these crazy hours, and after this next week or so, you'll get back on U.S. time. Yeah,
Yep.
doing some tournaments after Wimbledon, so that'd be good. Be good
Yep.
for you.
Yeah. Once we get back on the hard courts, it's not so bad through the U.S. Open. But yep, let's go through yesterday. Going into Sunday, there were four finals, all had an American in them.
Nice.
Tommy Paul had a chance. He lost a tough three setter to Francisco Cerundolo. Just wanted to get a quick thought on that. I know you like Paul. We talked a couple weeks ago about Paul. He
Yeah.
played a good tournament. Hadn't lost a set going in. There was a long, grindy set match with Cerundolo. But I saw this tweet that was pretty cool. I wanted to ask you about. Cerundolo's dad has a fear of flying, and I guess
Oh,
he'd never been out of Argentina in his life. And so once he found out his son was in the finals of Queens, which I think would be his biggest win of his career, he decided to get on a plane, fly to London, and arrive somewhere in like the second or the third set just in time to see him win.
well, that's what an effort that was. That's no easy trip.
Yeah.
Coming up there. But yeah, hopping on a plane and maybe now it's his new thing. Maybe
Right.
flying's not as bad as maybe he thought it was. And good thing is he made it safe and sound. And even better, he saw his son win the tournament. So what a day and what an opportunity for both.
Mm-hmm.
Father and son to have been able to experience that at the same time. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool, yeah. And I wonder if seeing him up there, like coming in late in the match, helped him, get over the line. At the end was pretty cool. They were also had a Diego Maradona jersey that they had draped over one of the chairs, and they had the Argentine flag. It was pretty cool, with the World Cup going on.
Right, right. Yeah, World Cup, World Cup fever.
Yeah.
A lot going on, a lot of action. Messi is playing some pretty good ball at the moment. So,
Oh yeah.
how can you not be interested in that? Pretty
Yeah.
fun to watch.
Pretty fun, yeah. The expanded World Cup. They got 48 teams, I think, for the first time instead of the regular 32. So getting a couple extra week of matches has been fun. Messi's just crushing. I think he's got
Yeah.
5 goals in his first 2 games. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Um,
So
on
good to watch that.
Yeah, awesome. On the women's side, Emma Navarro lost a tough three-setter to Buskova, and Pagula lost the tough match in Berlin to Noskova. Noskova now in the top 10. She swept. She had to play the women's final and then the women's semi-doubles because it had been rained out or darkness the day before, and the final. So she played
Wow.
three matches yesterday, won all three. Good for her. It was, Pagula played a tough match, just couldn't get there at the end. But the final I want to talk to you about was in Halle between two Americans, Taylor Fritz and Francis Tiafoe.
Yeah, good.
Tiafoe comes out on top. It played really well, to be honest. Kind of just took the racket out of Fritz's hands. Fritz might have been a little tired. He hadn't been playing so much this year with battling some injuries, and then has played a lot. I think 9 matches his last 2 weeks. Runner up in Stuttgart and then runner up in Halle. But pretty nice to see a couple of Americans battling it out on the grass, right?
Yeah, young Americans, going and Fritz battling the injuries. He comes back and he gets to two finals. That's he needs that match play. So maybe that's the best thing for him. He might be a little tired right now or a little from not playing so much, but going in with that match experience into a major like Wimbledon is pretty important. And getting those tough matches, even though he lost two finals. I mean, you can't look at it that way. You look at it like, hey, I'm getting my reps in, and I played well enough to my game's coming around, and hopefully, Wimbledon time, he's playing his best tennis. But Tiafoe has been playing pretty damn good himself on the clay. He played well at the French, and
Runner up, I
got
think, in Houston, I
got
think,
some
or was that
confidence.
might have
Yeah,
been last year, but
yeah, but he's got some confidence.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So I keep talking about confidence, how important that is, and what that means. But winning breeds confidence too. So you go out and you play your game, and you play the kind of tennis that that gets you to positions like that, and all that does is allow you to go in and play majors like Wimbledon coming up. With the feeling that, hey, I belong. And
Right.
and if there's nothing like that feeling that you walk out there and you're going to give it everything you have and say, hey, look, you're going to have to beat me in the ground to win this match, and I want to give you everything I got, which is normal, which every player should anyway. But boy, go yeah, getting on a roll and having that feeling going into a major is pretty important.
Yeah. And both guys, I thought this was interesting. I want to get your take. Both guys saved a match point earlier in the tournament. Fritz against Shelton was able to avenge his loss in Stuttgart, and then Francis against Felix.
Huh?
What's that
Right.
like when you save a match point, or you come back from the brink? Does it feel like you're almost playing with house money?
Well, I guess that's a good way to say it. I mean, the other guys out there trying to do the same thing you are, Brother. And that's win the match. So, both guys at that time, are playing the kind of tennis that you want to see in matches like that. Match point up, match point down. You save a match point, you get in. The matches go, the distance, and one guy's going to have to come out on top. Yeah, but when you come back, when one comes back from a match point down, you got to feel that not only is your game in order, but you can handle the pressure.
Right.
And knowing that you had to come through when it really counted. And
Yeah.
and once you do that, once again, there that all that does is breed a feeling of going in and feeling like you belong, and that's pretty important.
Yeah, it seems like it's one of those things that can just build confidence. Both guys really good on the grass. I mean, Taylor, it's his favorite surface. Also, it's Francis's favorite surface by winning percentage. Taylor's got 5 titles. Francis got 2 now. Not that much match play on it, but would love to see how their draws shake out later this week after qualifying, and just see like, hey, are they avoiding center? What side of the draw are they on? Who's the big seed they're with? Because you can definitely see both of them making a run.
Yeah, that going in, going from the clay of Roland Garros, Brett, to even though as we talk about this, the surfaces kind of play pretty much the same with the higher bounce and all that is and I think the biggest change of that is at Wimbledon, but it gives you the feeling that not, coming off the clay that, what it's like to hit 10, 12, 14 balls every point and to be able to get into the grind, and now to have a little bit of a faster surface like the grass and knowing that you can handle those long points, but also you'll get some short ones too, some free points along the way. Big serves, a short ball, be able to take advantage and be aggressive early on in the point where, which is, not is good for the whole game. It allows you to, have that feeling of not you're in shape and you can handle anything, but a few free points along the way is just going to allow you to take that little breather once in a while and maybe not get too exhausted along the way. So yeah, but also we're going back again. Here we go again. It's 3 out of 5.
Yep.
You saw what happened at the French.
Yeah.
With 3 out of 5 set matches, and it happened to, two of the three best players in the world, Novak Djokovic and Sinner.
Yeah.
They both, kind of, wilted is a bad word, but got involved in a 5 set match, and
But if they were
things happen.
if they were 2 out of 3, they would have won.
It would have been over in a heartbeat.
Right.
Right,
So
right,
that there's the difference right there. So it's just it's got to play that extra set, and then the other guys never out of it. There was tons of comebacks from 2 sets down and 2 sets to 1 at the French.
right.
That was a fun tournament, but yeah, and interesting just watching these two. This week and a half so far. It's crazy how many of the matches still on grass play like clay, or like some of the
Mhm.
players, like you'll look up and it's 28 ball rally, and you're like, on grass.
Right.
It's just I think the people who understand the slight differences, I know they're all homogenized, but still grass is different with the backhand slice and trying to keep it low and moving forward when you get a short ball more often than waiting for the point to develop. Maybe you take that opportunity earlier in the point because you never
Right.
know.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to watch, and the players like Novak, like Sinner, hopefully like Fritz and Tiafoe, they know that, hey, there's a difference here when it's grass, and I know how to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and see how quick they adjust to that. This is just, after the French, this is just what the first or second, opportunity to play on the grass, and
Yeah.
how quick can you adjust to that to with the feeling of, hey, I got a short ball, let's be aggressive, let's move forward, let's try to force the action a little bit. I mean, you don't want to go crazy with that. It's still your game that you have to play, but understanding, the opportunities that each player will get on this surface, on the grass surface, is going to be, the interesting way that which they handle it.
Yeah, definitely. Before we move on to the Wimbledon odds, how about we just take a walk down memory lane? 1995. Do you remember
Hmm.
this, when you were almost 43 years old, pretty much retired from the game, but Mr. Gary Weber from the Halle Gary Weber Open back in the day in Halle, Germany, probably reached out and said, "Hey, Jimmy, would you like to come over and play in our event?" And
Right.
you said, "Yeah, only if I can bring Brett and a VHS of Die Hard."
That's right. That's exactly right. I think we watched that movie until our eyeballs fell out, but
Yeah.
it was a good one. But boy, was that fun to go to. That was pretty. I think it was like the second or third year that they had the tournament and a new event. But boy, was it an interesting place. The hotel and everything was right there. The courts were right out of the front door of the hotel, and great crowds. And it's interesting. For me to see better how that tournament has continued to be successful over the years and is still around after all this time.
Right. In that
It's
same stadium. That's
in the same
crazy.
place. Right,
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
that's 31 years ago now.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's crazy how fast time goes. But do you remember we flew there? I can't remember where we flew into, but they had a helicopter pick us up and fly us to Halle.
Right. Yeah.
But
You got a good memory.
yeah, but then after you lost, it was a car back to the airport
Yeah, yeah, but it was on the Autobahn. Well, I
on the
think
autobahn. And remember, do you remember what happened when we were on the autobahn?
tell me.
We blew a tire. We were
Oh,
going like 105 miles an hour with the guy, taking us from Halle back to the airport, to spend the night before we flew out the next day, and we blew a tire.
oh God.
Like, what
Um,
an adventure, helicopter here, blowing a tire on the Autobahn back, like somehow
It
the guy
just
pulled it off the road pretty safe though. We were all right.
just goes to show as long as you have a chance to win, they'll do everything they can. But once you're out of the tournament, I'm surprised we didn't have a horse and buggy.
Yeah, they didn't even give us four good tires to
I
get back.
know, no kidding, no kidding.
But
But it was a fun event. I remember, going out and playing the matches, and actually, you got a little sick, I think, over the course of
I
that
did. Yeah,
that
I had
week. And
some sort of stomach thing, and I had to stay in the hotel for one of the days. I remember you
yeah,
practice. I think you practiced with Richie Rinnenberg every day. Remember,
I
shout
did.
out
Yeah,
Richie.
yeah. Shout out to Richie. Is right. Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed playing on the grass, Brett. It wasn't my favorite surface. I was more of a fast hard court player indoors or outdoors, but the hard courts were my favorite. But I enjoyed playing on the grass because it gave me an opportunity to be more aggressive and to try to take more balls out of the air. If I hit a good solid ground stroke or a good return, I was trying to get in and take a ball out of the air and put the pressure on my opponent and make him pass me. If you pass me, you're too good. It's one of those kind of things. But it just kind of allowed me to work and get my game to a point where it was hopefully an all surface game and it was fun to play. But back then, you didn't want to let the ball bounce. The courts were, a lot different than they are today. The ball stayed very low, and taking the ball out of the air was to your advantage. But yeah, I mean, I see these guys play today. No matter how the ball bounces, it still gives them an opportunity to work and to move forward and to put pressure on your opponent. And whoever does that's going to win the tournament.
Right. And I mean, and you hitting it flat over the net, it's not going to bounce high on those old courts. So I mean, that played right into your strategy, right?
Yeah, against a lot of players except one. Yeah, and if he's listening to us over in Sweden someplace, damn you.
Yeah. You mean Ibiza?
He's in Ibiza. That's right. Exactly. I'm talking about Bjorn Borg, and my game, was and he played his game, I played my game, and I thought my game on the grass would have been very beneficial to me, against him. But man, oh man, I just no matter what I threw at him, wasn't good enough. But
Yeah.
we had some
Well,
great matches. Great
hey,
matches.
I mean, yeah, one of the best rivalries all time. What do you think about this? I've never asked you this. Borg was so good at going from the slow dirt clay to the, low bouncing, quick, fast courts of Wimbledon. Would he just clean up today with like the homogenized, would he just win France and Wimbledon like even more often now because of the
Boy,
way the courts are?
boy, I don't know. That's such a good point. I mean, with the way the ball bounces on the grass, the higher bounce that would fit right into his game. Yeah,
Right. He'd have even
and
more time.
more time is right. And
Yeah.
and as far back as these guys play, I mean, man, I don't know. He'd have to, certainly get used to the equipment and everything like that, just like like the players of today. But his game, whether it was clay or grass or hard courts or whatever, he was dangerous and unbelievable on all surfaces, Brett. I mean,
Hmm.
and his, I mean, I think, to me, I knew his game well. He knew my game well, but his attitude and the way he looked at matches, was so different than mine. I didn't really know what he was thinking, because he never changed expressions, but his attitude towards the matches and the way he played, he knew he'd go out there and he says, "I'm going to play my game. This is the way I'm going to play. If you can beat me, good luck to you."
Right.
And I loved playing him because I knew that if I didn't, and I hope I brought out the best in him as he brought out the best in me, but I knew if I wasn't better than I should be, that was going to be a tough day.
Be a quick day, huh?
Well, hopefully not. Well,
Not
well,
too quick.
not hopefully not too quick, but it was going to be a tough day.
Yeah.
And but boy, did I like playing him and trying to figure out a way to break through.
Yeah.
Not only his game, but his attitude. But yeah, it was fun playing. If he's listening, and I'll text him and say we were talking about him on our pod to
Nice.
tune in. But
Yeah.
he, boy, I missed him when he stopped. I missed
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. I bet. Um, one thing, how about we take a look at the Wimbledon lines
Yeah,
before we
go
move
for it.
on?
Yeah.
All right. So this will be our last episode before Wimbledon starts next week. We'll start with the men. Yannick Sinner up top, minus 225. Similar, I guess, ish to what RG was. He was a little more, I think. You got Djokovic
Hmm.
second, plus 350. You got the
Hmm.
Rolling Girls champ Zverev 7-1. And then
Mm.
it falls off after that. You got Shelton and Fritz, two Americans, 20-1. You got the big Serbian Jakub Minchik, 22-1. Draper, 25-1. Actually, we did Draper's match today. It was his first match back in a while. So he's trying to come get a little match play before he gets back at Wimbledon next year.
How'd that work out? How'd he do?
He looked pretty good. He played
Yeah.
Marcus Garone, the American lucky loser. He got in because someone else pulled out. But yeah, he looked pretty good. Took care of business, straight sets. And
Hmm.
it's good to have him back. You're starting to miss some of the other guys like Holger Rune. He's been out a
Right.
while. Draper's been out a while. So these other young guys are having chances, but also like you're like, don't forget about us. Once we come back, we're gonna want to try and get back up in the top 10. Fonseca
Yeah.
33,
Uh-huh.
Hodar 33. I'm not sure if the grass suits up for them. Bublik likes the grass 40-1. Berrettini's made the final before 40-1.
Hmm.
And it kind of falls off after
I just got to make sure
Caboli's
he plays the whole tournament though.
right. Yeah. I mean, he's his injuries or woes are always on the storyline for him. Caboli made the
Right.
quarters last year. He's 60-1.
Wow.
I don't know if he can win it, but I mean, 60-1 for a guy can at least make the quarters isn't terrible value.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Well, you look back and I was talking to somebody the other day about the French and what happened early in the French with Sinner, being up 2 sets and 5-1 and losing I don't know 18 out of 20 games or whatever, and even Djokovic,
yeah.
being up 2 sets and
Or Sabby losing
yeah,
the last 10 games.
right. You just wonder, listen, it happens to everybody, but you just kind of, when it happened to me, I know what happened. I wonder if they just kind of go and Djokovic, I don't think so, but I wonder how Sinner has handled that.
Right.
Djokovic has been around long enough. He's won enough, and but Sinner has also. But I wonder how he's handled that, and what his thoughts are, and what his preparation now for this Wimbledon championship is going to be, knowing that it's 3 out of 5 sets, and his record after 3 hours and 15 minutes is really not that great, right?
3 hours 50, I think it is. But yeah, yeah, he
Yeah,
struggles in the longer matches. And I wonder how much this has an effect. I mean, he's only played one major without Carlos. But when Carlos is there, the favoritism, the hype gets split up between the two.
yep.
And I
Good
wonder
point.
now that he's like everyone's going to expect him to come back and win here. Like he's minus 225 to win a major. That's pretty big numbers.
Right.
Like usually it's close to even or something like that. And that's also a big favorite. But I bet he probably learned from it. They discussed it and figured out what was wrong, if it was a hydration issue or a training issue or whatever it was. And he
Hmm.
probably just, dealt with it for that week and then, threw it in the trash and started to like look forward and get ready for
Yeah.
the grass, is
Yep.
what I would say.
That would be the smart thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to get it off your mind and just, let your concentration go towards where you're heading now, which is, the grass of Wimbledon. So,
All right.
but, yeah, but I mean, I look, for some more matches like that, even on the grass, Brett,
Yeah.
that,
Some comebacks and long five
right.
setters. Yeah.
I think that, a lot of these younger guys now are seeing that, some of these top players are beatable. And
Yep.
if you stay in there with them and you grind it out and show no fear and listen, you go out there and there's only two things that are going to happen. You're either going to win or lose. And it's like I was always told. He goes, even if you lose, you're still going to go out and have dinner that night and go home and play with your dog and
Yeah.
do whatever. But the idea is as we talked just a little earlier, being prepared, go out and know what you can do and just give it your all.
Yeah.
But my point being before I got into that is that these young guys now are kind of catching on, and saying, shit, maybe these guys are a little bit beatable. They
Mm-hmm.
saw Zverev come through. Yeah,
Yep.
and win his first Grand Slam. And, he's been there before. He's been in the finals and had other opportunities, but still, it's his first. So now all these guys are saying, if he can do it, we can do it.
Yep.
And that's what's going to lift the game. Getting
Yep.
some of these young guys to have that feeling and that confidence and that air about them that when they walk out on the court, that they're unbeatable too.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to bluff that. You got to show that arrogance. Walking out there, even if you're, maybe don't have it, but you never let anybody see that you don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Let them
Yeah.
see that you have it. Is kind
Right.
of my point.
Like Zlatan would say, it's not arrogance, it's confidence, right?
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't sound bad.
Yeah. All right, let's look at the women real quick. This is way more balanced. You got Sabby around 3-1, Rybakina about 350, Iga plus 450, Anna Samova, last year's runner-up, 8-1, Coco Gauff, played well here before, 8-1, Mira Andreeva, the RG champ, 8-1. And then it kind of falls off with Raducanu, Kostyuk, Jovic, Keys, Schneider, Svitolina, Osaka, those kind of players.
Right,
But yeah, I mean, you feel like it's going to be one of those top six names.
right.
It's going to be. That's why all the odds are a lot closer than the men. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see Sabby with the same storyline where it's like she's never
Right.
won Wimbledon, never made the final here, but you feel like her game should suit really well for the grass.
Yeah.
Rybakina playing really well the last 12 months, has won here before. Iga's defending champ, Anna Samova
Hmm.
runner up, Coco. It just depends on who has the hot hand, and be interesting to see how Andreeva reacts after coming off the major. Does she
Right.
does she have that early young person success hangover, or is she able to reset on a new surface and take care of business? We'll have to see.
Well, I mean, you said it. I look at Sabby, and she's once again the favorite. But I look, from our conversations, over the past couple weeks or whatever, wonder how her attitude is.
Mm-hmm.
Can she kind of wipe all that aside too, and go and get on a different surface and take that air and that confidence that we're normally used to seeing from her, out into this tournament that, as you said, she's never won before.
Right.
So, but we keep saying it. She's got the game.
Yep.
So but the next three or four or five names that you mentioned there, see that she is beatable,
Right.
and that just go out and walk out there and take care of your business, and sometimes a lot of good things happen.
Yep. That's all you can ask for. Put yourself in the right position. Hopefully, you're in shape, playing the best tennis you can once the majors start. So,
Doesn't
um,
sound doesn't sound
doesn't
bad, but
doesn't sound
talking
bad.
about majors and playing the best. What
Yeah.
about what about the golf this weekend?
1 second, I wanted to get a quick thought on this
Oh,
story that broke today,
okay.
since we're on the women. Marketa Vondrousova, the Czech
Yeah,
player, um, missed, I guess it's her third test, the doping protocol, where I guess but the rules are, I'm not totally up to date, so don't crush me on it. But I think what it is no matter where in the world you are, you have to let the anti-doping people let them know where you're going to be. So, hey, I'm at this tournament, I'm staying at this hotel, this is my room number. I'm on vacation, I'm going to this resort, I'm staying in this room, and I
Jesus.
and then I think and then I think you need to give them like a set kind of time. Like, hey, I'd like to when I'm tested, make it from 6 to 7 in the morning because I'll still be getting ready to go out and practice and have my day. And so I guess she's missed a couple, and then yesterday or this most recent one, she missed a third. I guess the person showed up not at the right time or the previously scheduled time. I guess she's saying she didn't recognize the person, didn't know that it was a doping protocol person, and I guess shut the door and is saying, hey, with what happened with Kvitova, Petra a few years, 7 or 8, 10 years ago, whatever it is now, where
Right.
someone broke into her house, stabbed her in the left hand, tried to take her money maker hand away from her. She kind of said that as a reason why she kind of flipped out a little. And now they're
Yeah.
saying it's a 4-year ban,
Yeah. Yeah.
4-year ban for missing a test. And, got to go back about a year or so. Yannick Sinner, Iga Swiatek, both failed tests. Both of them missed way less time than 4 years.
Right.
So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
the whole
Just
protocol and the rules and everything with tennis
crazy.
is so murky and so different depending on who the player is and how much clout they have in the game. And I don't know. I just want to get. I know you don't know much of the details. I just want to get your quick take on it. What do you think?
No, but you're right. I mean, man, having to, report in and say where you're going to be and who you're going to be with and what time this and what do they want to do? Own you? Come find me in the middle of the Bahamas in the ocean. Shit. Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to make a joke about it, but let's treat everybody the same then.
Right. That's the part
Don't.
that's weird, where it's
Yeah,
like, wait, you see that? So it's like, wait, so she should have just taken the test and failed it, and then she would have gotten like a few months or way
yeah,
less than 4 years, right? So like
yeah.
the incentive is to go ahead and fail the tests instead of to miss the tests, is what you're telling
Interesting.
players.
Interesting. Interesting. I don't know enough about that, Brett. Or, that all that was just really coming in when I was going out. Thank you.
Right.
I mean, they could have tested me anytime. It wouldn't have made any difference to me. But
Oh, you remember when you coached Andy? I remember
yeah,
being at one of his U.S. Open matches, like, and he was the last night match on, and it, ended at 11 o'clock or whatever. And we hung out in the locker room with him for an hour, because
right,
was dehydrated. He couldn't work up a piss, he
right,
couldn't take a pee to take the tests,
right.
So
Yeah,
like the testing guy sitting there waiting, and he's sitting there pounding water to try and, make himself go. And then he finally does it. And, there's the sample, and then they go and do whatever.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know all the rules with it, but just from standing afar and you see that, it seems tough to explain. It's
yeah.
like one person gets this, another person gets that. So Vondrousova won't be able to play Wimbledon for the next 4 years. She'll miss 16 majors, is
Right.
what they're saying.
It's
Sinner
gonna
didn't Sinner
it's
didn't miss one.
it's gonna be hard
I-
for me to believe that that's gonna
Iga
hold up.
Iga didn't miss one. They
Right.
didn't even make them miss one
Yeah.
combined. So,
Crazy.
like, yeah, I think in the appeals, it's definitely going to get probably knocked down. Who knows what? But
Right.
yeah, it's just a story that broke today. I just wanted to get your opinion on it. So,
Yeah, but I mean, you know what, going back and looking at that, I mean, you don't know who's knocking on your door sometimes.
yeah,
With all due respects, I mean, you don't know who it is. Somebody could be, imitating. You
yeah,
just don't know.
yep,
You just don't know. So what would be wrong with just doing it at the tournament that you're playing?
yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know how all that works. Or where it's
yeah,
like
me
if
neither. Me neither. I shouldn't even be talking about it. I mean,
yeah, I don't know if there's certain, PEDs where you can use them short term and then like get off of them before, like if you're on a vacation, you can use them and then you get off of them before the tournament when the testing would be. The thing that makes it so different from other sports is all the other sports do it within like the world. Like you're at the practice facility, you're on the team charter, you're at the team this, the team that. Like so, like everything is already there. You're at the events and all that stuff. So they just do the testing there. But with
right,
tennis, you're a personal contractor. You're your own person. So there is no team
right.
facility. There was
Yeah,
only the tournament. So the only place they can do it, I guess, is at your house. When you're not at events, the only place you can do it, I guess, is wherever you are. So it makes it like a weird thing where it's not relatable to other sports, but we'll have to see how the appeals and all that go down. But she's a former Wimbledon champ, so
yeah.
she's not going to get to play. I don't know if she was supposed to play, but she's definitely not going to play now. But
But
let
but the interesting thing though, Brother, is you can't do anything spontaneous now.
right,
You can't go and say if you're playing and say you got a family and you say, well, I want to fly to, I don't know.
or what? If
Re-
something comes up, yeah, if just
right,
something comes up and you want to go
right.
do something the next day you hadn't planned on. Oh, I can't do it. They might be piss testing me at 6 a.m.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
what the hell? I don't know. I shouldn't say I'm not in it, so,
yeah,
I shouldn't really be saying anything about it, but, just they want to be able to know what you're doing, where you are, who you're with, everything, everything. They want to know everything about you way too
yeah.
much, in my opinion.
I mean, it's weird. They want to know everything about you, and so that when you do test positive, it's just a few months.
Right. Well,
So
yeah.
it's like, well, what? Like, is it this big deal that we want to like crack down on, or does it depend if they're top 2 or 3 in the world, or if they're injured at the
Yeah.
time, and if they're a big name, if they sell tickets, all that stuff comes into it.
Yeah.
Um, But let's
Uh,
move back on to what you want to talk about. I wanted to tie it back in. Do you remember when we were in Halle in 1995, besides watching Die Hard and imitating
mm,
Hans Gruber's accent in front of all
yeah.
the poor German people who had to hear us?
Right.
Yeah, I see him.
Yeah, I see
Uh,
him.
we
The
were,
best line in the movie. The
yeah,
best line.
amazing.
Yeah.
But do you remember we also were watching Corey Pavin at
Yeah.
Shinnecock Hills
Isn't that crazy?
hit a 4 wood on 18 to secure his U.S. Open victory. I think he beat out Greg Norman and a couple other, like Tom Lehman might have been up there. I remember we were watching it and we immediately started. There was no online back then, but we immediately went like, we got to get a 4 wood. Well, he's got a
Right.
4 wood. We can do that with a 4 wood. Oh my God, we need a 4 wood. And
Yeah,
then,
should
and then
maybe I should go out to the garage and see if we still have one.
100% there's one out there. I'll bet my life on it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think so. I think
and
you're
then
right.
and then after that, we didn't fly home to California. Do you remember where we flew straight to? We flew
Uh,
to Houston,
oh,
straight to Lochinvar Country Club to go see Butch Harmon, the swing guru, to help work on our swing.
yep. Oh boy, I wish we could still do that.
Yeah,
That would be a blast to see Butch. He was fun fun to hang out with too. He was
yeah.
a lot of fun.
He's still
But
out in Vegas. I think he's still out there. Might have to. He'd be fun to get on the pod. I mean, he would
oh
be.
boy.
His stories would be amazing. I don't know if we could put them all on the air, but it would be pretty fun.
But it would be fun just to see him and hang with him a little bit.
Totally,
Yeah, just the golf and you forget about the golf. Just sit down and have lunch with him and have some good conversation would be great.
totally.
But yep.
Did you
So
watch yesterday Wyndham
I did.
Clark talking
I
about Shinnecock Hills? It's back 31 years later. Wyndham Clark goes wire to win. He pretty much won the tournament Thursday in a way. I woke up from my nap after working Thursday and he was 6 under through 12 or 13 holes.
right.
He ended up winning 4 under. So, I
Yeah,
mean, he was 6 or 7 under coming into the final round. He had a 5 or 6 stroke lead on a bunch of good players. It was, Scotty was right there. Burns was right there. You figured Scotty, if anything, was going to be the guy who could maybe make a charge. And, Wyndham, he came out tight. He won the U.S. Open here a few years ago at L.A. Country Club, and it was kind of a weird, private club for a U.S. Open. Usually they're public. But he's not the most liked guy on tour. So people in the stands were cheering when he missed a putt, cheering when he went in the
yeah.
bunker, because I think a little bit, remember last year at the US Open at Oakmont or wherever it was, he smashed up a couple of lockers. Like after his
Oh,
round, he smashed a couple of lockers up and a picture of it went viral on Twitter or whatever.
I
And so I
get it.
think a lot of people maybe don't have a great opinion of him. But to be honest, it was a really entertaining a Sunday to watch just because he was hanging on by his fingernails.
Right, right. But
And
you know
boy,
what
is
really,
that relatable.
what won it for him though, brother, was on Saturday. I mean, those greens must be treacherous. The way they fall off, to the sides, to the front, into sand traps and all that, and the speed of them. But his up and downs, having to make 8 and 10 footers for par.
Yeah.
I think, that really, that kept him in the lead. I think he was up by 5 or 6 going into the last day, but that's what kept him into the lead. Even though he might have stumbled a little bit coming out on Sunday. I mean, Christ, that's a lot of pressure, trying to win
Yeah.
the US Open, knowing that, who's trying to track you down, who's trying to hoping that you stumble a little bit and they can get on a run to overtake you or to get into a playoff or whatever. But man, did he putt well.
Yeah.
And when it was tight,
The putt
coming
on 16 that he made,
right.
like up and over, it was like up the hill and then kind of went down.
Exactly.
That birdie, I feel like, was like, because if he doesn't make the birdie, he might go bogey and lose. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like that gave him that extra stroke there where he's like, okay, then he bogeyed 17, but he still had the one stroke. Burns burnt the edge with his birdie putt on 18.
Yeah.
You're like, if that goes in and there's a playoff, that would be really entertaining. But you're right, man. He used that lab putter. I think he had one of those lab putters that you guys like so much. I'm not a big
Right.
fan, but man, it looked pretty good with him yesterday. And then also just even if he's not likable, he's an American, bro. Like,
Yeah.
he's an American in New York playing at the U.S. Open. It was wild to watch these fans just kind of shit on him the whole day.
Right.
At
That's
some point,
right.
like even if I'm not a fan and the guy drains a 25 foot downhill putt on 16,
Yeah, yeah, pretty.
I'm giving him a golf clap. You know what I
Don't you
mean?
think?
I'm giving him
Right.
something, man.
Hey, it's okay for a guy that wears a black hat to win once in a while. It's
Totally. I
okay.
mean,
You
it's
don't you don't need.
just like with Zverev. It's like
Yeah,
it's good thing once in a while.
yeah, heck yeah. I mean, that adds a little spark to it. Like him or not, root for him or not, he's
Yeah.
there, and you got to appreciate what he does.
Yep.
And how he handled himself and all that shit. I was for him. I was also for Burns.
Yeah,
I,
I like
I,
Burns a lot too. He
I,
kind
I
of won me. He's got a new fan after yesterday.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like him and Scotty couldn't get anything going. He couldn't make anything.
No,
He
he's crazy, man. I mean, I know he didn't. He was still whatever 3 or 4 back, but even playing like he didn't even play good, and
well,
he ends up 4 back. He's like tied for
right.
third or fourth or whatever it was. It's unbelievable how good he is.
Yeah, yeah. It's fun to watch him play. But you know what I like most? I mean, they all drive the ball, 350, 360, whatever they were, knocking the hell out of it. But they're short games and when they had tough lies over the green and how they manage their short game and holy crime and netly. I was kind of hoping, miss the green. I want to see how you get up and down.
Yeah,
And all that. But man, are they good. Man,
yeah.
are they good at that.
On one of the holes, Scotty hit like he laid up. He hit like an iron or a 5 wood or something off the tee, and Clark outdrove him by like 30 yards. Clark had like a lob wedge in. Scotty had like a wedge in. He had a wedge in, and he hits
Hmm.
it. It lands short of the green, bounces on, and rolls all the way off the back.
Right.
And the announcers are like, "Well, that's what happens when you lay up off the tee, and you should have hit it as far as Clark." It's like, wait, he hit a fucking wedge.
All right. I
He hit
know.
a he hit a 48-degree wedge. It landed short of the green. Like, what's he supposed to do?
Yeah. Well,
Shows you how hard the conditions are at those courses, man. I love watching the U.S. Open. It's so much fun.
yeah. I'm glad you said that because, you watch a lot of the tournaments over the course of the year and they're winning, with unbelievable scores, 30 under and all that, to have a score of 4 under win the tournament. Boy, it just, kind of, that sucks me in. I want to see that. I want to see him. How do you handle getting out of the rough, and how do you handle, an up and down when you're short-sighted, and and all that. And boy, what an exhibition all those guys put on. It was fun. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it.
A lot of fun. Wyndham Clark, 5 PGA Tour wins, 2 of them majors. Makes me think of another legend by the name of John Daly, who has the exact same stats: 5 titles, 2 of them majors.
Crazy.
Awesome. What a
Yeah.
what a percentage. That's like Osaka, where Osaka's got like 7 titles and 4 of them are majors.
Four of them are, well,
Crazy.
that's not so bad. Jesus,
Not so bad at all.
yep.
And your boy got a little lucky. I'm known to sprinkle a little on a few names going into every major. And I had Reed, I had my guy Ludwig, I had Cam Young, and the fourth guy I had Wyndham Clark 40-1.
Look at you.
Cha-ching. I did
Look at
hedge a little. I hedged a little on Sunday with Scotty just to cover myself, but still was able to
look
take home a little chunk and supplement my income for the weekend.
look at you not calling your dad on Father's Day and giving me that tip.
Well, I mean, I was a little late then, a little late.
I
But I
know,
did
I
say it
know.
all last week. I was talking with Paul Anacone because he was doing the tennis last week. We were talking the golf. I guess he's from the East Coast and he has a house out there. And he said Tom Kim's caddy was staying at his house, and then Tom Kim ends up shooting whatever he was one or even or one under, had a great
Right.
tournament. I was like,
Yeah,
must be a pretty sweet mattress he's sleeping in out there.
that's it. Yeah, geez, we might have to Airbnb his place, get a little luck there. It
Yep,
wouldn't be bad.
yep. But
Well,
pops, this has been fun.
yep,
Thank you
always fun.
for calling in. I'm gonna eat a little dinner, put this out, and I'm gonna get in bed. I got to be in at 4 a.m. tomorrow to do some more grass court tennis at Tennis Channel, baby.
You've got just another week, son. So you always take care of your business and you do a great job. So tell everybody at Tennis Channel, give them our best and enjoy watching what you do. So take care of things. Give all those girls in your house, Bella and Sadie and Melvin, give them all a hug from the family here.
Will do. Tune in, watch us all week, and we'll check in with you next week for Wimbledon. Peace.